And if Britain now leave the EU, then we have two opportunities. The first opportunity is to trade with the UK and the EU. So the agreement because now that we have not put our house in order, that the private sector want to go to Abuja and take photograph and have a handshake, the business between Nigeria and the UK will not be the same thing as business between Nigeria and France. France will remain in the EU. So the EU form, which we normally get from Nigeria, a certificate of origin or movement certificate, will no longer be allowed in the UK, but it will be allowed in the EU. All the shipping and import and export terms will be slightly different. But in Nigeria, we are loaded with importation. The culture of importation has not allowed us to look at the other side of the fence, because we're in a country where we have import program and import program and project, but export, because in Nigeria, import is on a single window. Out of the 200 million Nigerians we have, over 50 million can import. But in a country like Nigeria, we cannot boast of 5 export managers, because export is not on a single window. We don't even have a target for export. The target we have for custom is on the area of importation. That is on the area of the EU. When you now talk of the Commonwealth, Britain has strategy. That is, let us give it to them. Today, half of our children and all that are doing one thing or the other in the UK. And Chinese now want to break that barrier by bringing their own children to study and to buy properties and buy companies in the UK. In 2012, I was in Oxford University, Mandela Hall. I made the presentation with the chairman for 3 hours. What were we saying? They said, why did we allow the Chinese into our continent? The question I asked, you created the vacuum, because there's no inch of this continent was colonized by the Chinese. But if you now talk of investment in Africa, Chinese is a force to be reckoned with. Britain now is coming, using the Commonwealth to come back to the party. The party is on. It's not too late for them to take whatever they have put on ground. And if you look at the Commonwealth, after the abolition of slave trade, and after the Bali Conference of 1884, Britain now come out and say they want to form League of Nations. And there were a lot of agreements until 1931. 1931, to form the Commonwealth, it was called British Commonwealth at that time. There were only 5 members. South Africa was one of the pioneer members. That's why the fact under the apartheid policy they left in 1961. Came back again with the swearing in of Mandela in 1994. Britain was there, Canada, Newfoundland and all that. But in 1946, when there was tension in the Far East, India and all that, that they cannot be called British India. That was why the Commonwealth was equally changed. If you now look at it, Commonwealth has more than 2 billion. Out of the 7 billion, what is Nigeria bringing to the table is the question which you ask ourselves.
And that's the question.
That is the question
that's
today.
The question I want to ask you. Now, what do you think?
If the Prime Minister
now,
is coming.
Mr. Isemede,
yeah.
Mr. Isemede, the Prime Minister, of course, is coming today and will be meeting with the President. You talked about the private sector. What do you think they should be bringing to the table? What should be the focus of discussion? What should they be telling the Prime Minister?
The issue is that we have to help the administration because we are Nigerians. We have successive government, both military, civilian, and all that. A lot of parastatals, what you call MDAs, were put in place. They were to work to promote the interests of the private sector. But what do you see today? They are working at cross purposes. That one agency is doing 5 agencies are doing the work of one. July last year, we made an attempt to export yam. In a country that is controlling over 70% of the total yam market, which is a 15 billion market. Then cassava, we are controlling 30% of the world market. We are exporting cassava and we are importing starch. So these are the issues that the government has to revisit the Oronsaye report. It's not just by signing mail agreement or the Prime Minister is coming. The President of America, Clinton, came in here some years back. When he got to Abuja, they named a street after him and took him to a village. But when he got to Ghana, they took him to the farm and gave him mortar and pestle and started producing shea butter with the women in Tamale and all that. So those are the things we should put on the table. What do we have? Then, if we now look at the other angle, we are in a country where the private sector is separated from the public sector. No target is given to anybody who is heading government position. So even in the private sector, the best thing we do now is to go about signing an agreement. If there is no division in the private sector, why have we not signed the Continental Free Trade? One side is saying don't sign. Another side say don't sign. I say don't sign until we are able to put certain things in place. We put our house in order. But you cannot say we have a population of 200 million Nigerians and you want to compete with Gambia. But Gambia benefited so much on AGOA. Kenya benefited so much on AGOA. D8, we did not, there was no certificate of origin on D8 issued here. So the only area we see the private sector that is strong today is to go to the villa or to go to the governor to have a handshake or take a photograph. Go across the globe, signing agreement to be importer representative. Why is the dollar exchanging at 360 to the naira if we are competing with the world? We are basically importing and feeding our people. Look at the statistics or the figures given yesterday on the state of the economy. Are we out of recession? If we say we're out of recession, let's be very honest with ourselves. We are still in the clip. We can either go up or go down. And if we go down, it will be very, very bad for us. So there is no point that every year, every day, or twice in a year, we organize trade fair and trade missions. After such trade fairs or trade mission, there are no technical report how to engage others. Then the last one is that with the three major trade fairs we have in Nigeria, Lagos, Kaduna, and Kano. Lagos, Kaduna, and Enugu. Where do we have pavilion of the private sector? What they do, what they produce. Then we went into a ridiculous level because we cannot meet our foreign obligation. We are talking of swap. With this swap some years back in ECOWAS, we benefited Nigerians because when you talk of swap, it is the importer that benefits, it's not the exporter, because if the currency is devalued, you are in deep shape. China have been able to put on the table their own strategy, what they want to get from Nigeria. We have Chinatown, they have put all structures on ground, but we are buying and selling our currency because the number of Nigerians going to China on daily basis, if we convert that to the US dollar and all that, we'll not be able to meet our obligation. If we look at foreign reserve of 47 billion vis-a-vis our debt, Nigeria is in negative.
Okay. Now, in this talk, are there particular sectors that you think should be the area of focus for the purpose of deepening trade and investment?
Thank you very much. Let's look at oil. Oil is a saga. Let's look at solid minerals. Let's look at agriculture. Exploration of oil started in Nigeria in 1908. And the explorer left in 1940, not because of the First World War. Sorry, not because of the amalgamation, but because of the First World War. Came back in 1937. Oil was discovered in 1956. By 1958, we have been exporting crude. Nigeria is not a monoproduct economy. We are a monoproduce economy. We export crude and bring in finished product. We have PPMC, we have the pipeline. What are we pumping through this line? Look at the situation in Apapa. There must be a strategy or have to move this country to the next level. Then look at solid minerals. South Africa, the contribution of solid mineral from the economy of South Africa is 30%. I was in Botswana, I was in Zimbabwe, I was in Namibia, I was in South Africa. I know what Botswana is getting, because even if the Prime Minister is signing an agreement with South Africa is taking other countries from Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mozambique into their own economy. The railway lines in Africa, 60% of them, 60% of it is in the Republic of South Africa. So if you look at solid minerals in Nigeria, we are not even getting 0.04%. Agriculture. When I started, they said, look at what we call comparative advantage. We are number one producer of yam. We are number one producer of this. We are number one producer. What value are we adding? Is it going about signing an agreement to be importers representative in a country that we were brought up with cassava and cocoa to pay our school fees, to build cocoa house, to build University of Ife? So the president has a big assignment. We have economic team, but we don't have economic players. So we cannot continue with importation without strategy of challenging people we are giving responsibility to, thinking that country will move from deficit to surplus.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Isemede. Mr. John Isemede is a trade expert and the former Director General of NASEMA.